Thank you very much. Dear presenters, first of all, let me, on behalf of Kodolány János University College, welcome you at our conference. I'm really very pleased you to coming here and to have your presentation in our conference organized in Kodolány János University College. Now let's turn towards my topic. My topic is Croatia accession, and I strongly believe that Croatia accession means the new phase of the whole integration process in the history of European Union, and I would like to take my presentation on this topic. To start with special character of the Croatian accession, I think there are two independent phases of the whole integration can be divided. The first term is from the declaration of the independence in 1991 till the death of the President Franjo Tudjman till 1999. And to tell you the truth, Croatia turned the millennium without having any official agreement with the European Union during this period. The next phase started after the death of President Franjo Tudjman on, and it is mainly characterized by the development and deepening of the relationship between Croatia and the European Union. And at the beginning, the progress was extremely extensive, and it seems to me that if the country had wanted to make up for the lost time during the 1990s, and in order to catch up the countries of Central and Eastern Europe. It is clear-cut, I'm sure, that the accession process, or Croatian accession process, has been lasted too long. As you can see, the major events on this slide. It started on the 21st of February in 2003 with submitting the formal request for the full membership with the aim to accede to the European Union as early as 2007 alongside Bulgaria, and Romania. The next major step was, and it's followed by starting accession talks on the 3rd of October 2005. Finally, with really much delay, on the 20th anniversary of the proclamation of independence, Croatia finished the 69-month-long accession talks with the European Union, as provisionally closed all the negotiation chapters on the 30th of June 2011, which was the last day of the Hungarian presidency. And it is expected to obtain the full-fledged member state status after 124 months, more than 10 years, on the 1st July 2013. I strongly believe that Croatia represents a unique case in the enlargement process of the European Union, as Croatia is the next country, and not only the next country on the verge of the EU membership, but also the first country to begin a new enlargement round, hopefully followed by other countries from the Western Balkan region. Since the 1991, so from the proclamation of independence from the former Yugoslavia, the country went through a 20-year-long road, while missed 2 rounds of enlargement. One of them is 2004, and the other one is 2007. And to tell you the truth, the other transitional countries of Central, Eastern, and Southern Europe, or Southern Eastern Europe, with similar or sometimes of lower level of economic development, have already joined to the European Union. Croatia has a unique case, as it will be the first Western Balkan country to enter to the European Union, and will become the second country from the former Yugoslavia after Slovenia. Croatia is the first country that has recently had a terrible war to join European club. And in addition, we have to mention that I'm sure that no state before it had faced such strict criteria, being at the same time burdened by regional heritage. If we talk about European Union enlargement process, I'm sure that in this process the EU has some kind of gatekeeping function. This gatekeeping function, in the case of Croatia, has been absent for a really long time, or has been formulated too late, or has been delayed really several times, in contrast with Central and Eastern European countries. The EU, it could be seen that the EU did not want to get engaged to the region as much as to the European or Central and Eastern European countries or region. It refrains from the concrete promises regarding the membership. It was the lack of the datum. It was the lack of schedule for the candidate state as well. In the European rhetoric, the Croatian enlargement and integration appeared as an open-ended process whose outcome cannot be guaranteed, according to the Commission. What happened after this? Not accidentally, it resulted in the counterproductive processes in Croatia. As you can see in the chart, Croatia's accession is characterized by really high Euroscepticism since 2005. Croatia represents a new model of enlargement process, setting the standards for entire region, I'm sure. This new model was based on two things. One of them is the credibility, and the other one is conditionality, which can be negative or positive one. As the President of the European Commission said, the EU enlargement is about the credibility. Credibility on one hand from the candidate country in respecting all criteria, but also on the other hand, credibility on the EU side in moving forward once the agreed conditions have been met. This EU's credibility had to be reinforced through very strict membership criteria. If we talk about these criteria or these so-called conditions, which is the second phase of the enlargement process, Croatia had to face with 3 generations of the enlargement criteria, and Croatia went through on so-called 3 stages of conditionality. The first stage is so-called pre-accession conditionality, which was based on the first wave of the, or first generation of the enlargement criteria, known as the Copenhagen criteria and Madrid criteria, which was used in Central and Eastern European countries as well, so nothing new happened in Croatia's case. Also, the pre-accession conditionality, we can talk about this one. The second generation of the enlargement criteria, which was introduced to the Western Balkans, including Croatia as well. If we talk about the EU policy towards this region, we can say that during the 1990s, the EU did not have a real strategy towards this region. The first strategy appeared just in 1996, called regional approach, and the second one is 1999, so-called stabilization and association process for the Western Balkans. And Croatia should do its accession according to this process, which was really tailor-made, and it was really based on Croatia's own merits as well. The second stage of the conditionality, so-called pre-accession conditionality, and it is in this stage there is a totally brand new instrument appeared. This is the third generation of the enlargement criteria. They are called benchmarks. Benchmarks are new tools, new instruments of the association process, and they are they are the result of the lessons learned from the fifth enlargement. In case of Croatia, there were really huge number of benchmarks. There are 138 opening or closing benchmarks. I mean that the negotiation chapters could be opened by so-called fulfilling opening benchmarks, or could be closed by fulfilling closing benchmarks as well. Not to mention that there is another stage of the Croatian accession. This is so-called post-accession conditionality, can be found as well, with meaning specific safeguard clauses later being reinforced by the cooperation and verification mechanism concerning to Croatia. What is more, there are some so-called unspoken conditions can be found. Mainly, it was based on the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia. And there are some other obstacles appeared concerning to this, or some other issues appeared concerning to the Croatian accession. Just some of them are listed here. For example, Eastern enlargement legacy, and on this basis that we could talk about enlargement fatigue, we could talk about the absorption capacity of the EU, and we can talk about the problems concerning to the Lisbon Treaty as well. Before Lisbon Treaty, there was no institutional guarantee of its place in the European Union, so there are lots of problems appeared, and not to talk about the world's biggest economic slump in the last 70 years. On all these bases, I am sure, and I would like to show you some other specific criteria as well with this big pictures, as think about judicial reform, crime places, and corruption, and so on, or refugees, for example, or problems with neighboring countries as well. So all these conditions, all these criteria, based on these criteria, I'm sure that Croatia was subject to the most rigorous, draconian, uncertain form of membership conditionality ever used in the history of the European Union. I'm sure that Croatia represents a sui generis example of proper EU membership state building. Why can I say? It seems to be trend in the enlargement of the European Union that it prefers when small group of countries are acceded to the community. Of course, there are some exceptions, and Croatia belongs to this exception, because Croatia will be the second country after Greece to enter to the EU on its own. It means that Croatia has been alone in its lengthy accession process. What is more, Croatia had to face with increased acquis, had to face with increased number of chapters, had to face with really difficult screening process as well. So I'm sure that the whole negotiation, during the whole session process, the whole negotiation methodology has been changed, and Croatia should face this brand new methodology as well. This process had been marked by up and downs as well, and the EU stick and carrot policy as well. So it was very difficult task and huge task paid by Croatia. And last but not least, I would like to give a very short summary concerning to the Croatian accession. In the accession of Croatia, several differences came into the focus, as think about the longer term and the stricter criteria could be found in this case. The insecure end of the accession, the stop of opt-out chance as well. There were introduced new instruments, new techniques, new methodology, as I mentioned. Furthermore, the strengthened negotiation position of the Union could be found during this process. Meanwhile, that of the candidate countries weakened as well. Therefore, I'm sure that Croatia's accession should be considered as a new phase of the integration process. Thank you very much for your attention.